Kutvach. Yeah,
Well,
we're learning as a schus for Shlema, Filan Chabes Sarach. We're at the Mishnah on the bottom of Pei Aleph Amud Beis. Was that right, Rafal? I think so. I always get confused over Shabbos. It's been a long time.
I'm double confused.
Yeah. So sagt the Mishnah. Hanitnim b'fnim shenis'avru b'nitnim b'chutz. If you have dam that is supposed to be brought inside the heichal, meaning which we know is the param hanisrafim, all the karbanis, the chatas that you burned altogether all the way outside of Yerushalayim, and that the dam is on the mizbeach hapnimi, and it got mixed with the b'ninim b'chutz, with the regular carbon that's done in the dam is given the azara. Yishbechul lama. You got to pour it out, and this is really a din like we had in the previous Mishnah, the Gzeira, right? This is something that's shchiach, like we said, balmum shchiach, things that are part of that are psulim that happen in the Beis Hamikdash, the geyser, that you have to pour it out. Nosam b'chutz, b'chazav and nosam b'fnim, if they didn't ask, like we said, they were not nimlach, they just decided on their own. They brought it b'chutz, and then afterwards they went and brought it b'fnim, it's kosher, because although the nitnim b'fnim were not supposed to go b'chutz, that's not going to pass the whole thing. B'fnim v'chazim and asam b'chutz, but if you did it the other direction, you took the dam that was supposed to go on the mizbeach hachitzin, and you brought it together, this mixture, right, with both of the dam, and you brought it inside, and you were zayrik on the mizbeach hapnimi. Rabbi Kiva paisel. Rabbi Kiva says it's pasul, which it sounds like Rabbi Kiva is saying it's always going to be pasul regardless of what carbon it is. We're going to see that it's not so simple. Kiva paisel v'cham machshirim. Chum say it's kasha. Was the Mishnah explains with a little more detail. Rabbi Kiva aimer kol dam shenichnasu l'chaber b'heichel psulim. Any carbon, any dam that was supposed to be on the mizbeach hachitzin, if you bring it in the mizbeach hapnimi, it's going to be pasul. The Chamim say this only is true of a chatas, because what the Gemara is talking about, what the Mishnah is talking about, is a special pasuk that says that you're not allowed to bring dam that's supposed to be in the azara into the heichel, and if you do so, it's going to be pasul. If you look on the next amud, by the first pasuk that it says on the side, it says v'chol chatas asher yuva midama el oil moed l'chaper b'kodesh. Any chatas, the pasuk says a chatas, that you bring its dam into the oil moed. The chatas is not supposed to go. It's talking about a regular chatas chitzayna. Lo sayachal ba'esh tisaref. That dam, that carbon is pasuled. You pasuled the dam. You can no longer be zerik it properly, and therefore you're going to have to burn the carbon. So this is the Torah is telling you that if you take dam that's supposed to be b'chutz and you bring it b'fnim, it pasuls the dam, it pasuls the carbon. So there's a machlokes over here. Rabbi Kiva says this pasuk that says chol chatas, as we're going to see in the Gemara, it doesn't just mean chatas; it means all karbanos. The Chacham say it's only chatas, right? So when we say Chacham machshirim, they say only a chatas is going to be possible. But if it's a different carbon, even though we say machshirim, it sounds like everything is kosher. It's really the other way around. The Chacham is saying it depends on which carbon it is. If it's a chatas, it's going to be pasul. If it's another carbon, it will be kosher. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Afa Osham Shenemer Kchatz Kasham. Rabbi Eliezer puts Osham in the same category as chatas. So be'etzem that he holds like the Chachamim, Rabbi Eliezer, but he says he expands it. Not just the chatas has this din that if you bring its dam lefnim, it's going to pasul, but also an Osham will have the same din. Okay. Zok the Gemara. Nif neglami Rebbe Eliezer baha. Frag the Gemara. What happened with Rebbe Eliezer in the previous Mishnayos? Rebbe Eliezer, as we know, says we say a din of raya, that if you have a mixture of two separate things, just ignore the extra thing and treat it as water. Zok the Gemara. What do you mean? Heichel yavid. It's a little bit hard once we explain the Mishnah.
Meaning, where should he argue? Over here in our Mishnah?
Yeah, let him argue about this Mishnah also. Let's say that it's not possible. It's not possible. Why does he say that? We just ignore the extra water and then let's treat whatever's extra as water. I mean, it's a little hard to understand once we've explained the reasoning of the Mishnah. Let's see how the Gemara says it. So what are you saying? Rabbi Eliezer says that we said yishbechu la'ama. So what case would he say that it's not yishbechu la'ama? If you say neisa b'chutz v'hada neisa b'flim, let him first bring whatever carbon is brought outside. It doesn't make a difference to machlekes Rabbi Akiva and the Chacham. Let's say we're going according to Rabbi Akiva. It says, I'm sorry, we're going like the Chachamim. We're going according to Rabbi Akiva that anything that's brought outside that comes inside from outside is going to be possible. So let's first be zayrik outside, and whatever you was zayrik from the chatoyis pnimis on the outside will be looked at as water, and then you go and bring b'fnim. Kashem she zaktamar, kashem she mitzvah lahakdem el yanim l'tachayim, kach mitzvah lahakdem parim lachutz. You don't have that option. You can't go. Rabbi Eliezer can't say you can go bring the chatoyis hachitzaynis first, because if you have the rule is you do the thing that's more kaddish goes first, and obviously pnim is more kaddish than chutz, so you have to do the pnim first. So you don't have that option. And then the other way, neisa lefnim v'hada neisa lechutz, kiven the ikka chatas v'asham, the chinechlas damam sulin. Since we said it's all Rabbi Akiva says they're all possible, but even according to the Chachamim, who say it's only the Chatas, and maybe Rabbi Eliezer says we're going to Rabbi Eliezer, right? Rabbi Eliezer really holds like the Chachamim, except that he said it's not just Chatas, it's also Asham. But you can't just say Rabbi Eliezer says you can be zayrik it and raya sadam ki'iluhi as if it's water, because there's going to be a few carbonates that you're not going to have that option. Chatas and Asham, you're not allowed to. Once it's already brought outside, it's possible. So since Rabbi Eliezer can't say as a rule that it's kosher if you bring it first outside, if you bring it first inside, because the Chatas and Asham are going to be ruined, so therefore we don't say Rabbi Eliezer's did. But Ein Chanami, Rabbi Eliezer would have an eitzah of what to do with the other carbonates. So the Mishnah continues. Rabbi Akiva Aimer. Rabbi Akiva said that the pasuk says, "Kol dam shenichnu l'chaber heichel psul," and they're all pasuk. Any dam from the outside that comes inside is pasuk. Amar Yudam Shmuel, Mashal Amad Davadaimer. How does he get? Again, it's coming from this pasuk that says, "V'chol chatos yuva midama." How does Rabbi Akiva? I'm sorry, I don't know why my thing keeps moving. I'm not doing anything. The camera keeps moving in and out for some reason. Where do you get from this pasuk that it's not just on chatas, it's on all carbonis that you brought the dam inside? The Talmud shemazag l'Rabbi b'chamin, a student who poured out away. He's waiting on his rabbi, and he brings him wine that was mixed with hot water. And the Shita Mekubetzes changes this. Says that Rashi has a lashon of mezoigli b'chamin. Amaloi b'ma. So the student asked him, "What do you want me to pour it to you with?" Even though the Rebbe said, "Pour me with hot water." Amaloi loy b'chanin or asukim. We were anyway. You had poured me before with hot water. Achshav bein b'chamin bein mitzayin. The fact that I said mezoigli b'chamin, that's must be. Why would I say that to you? I have no reason to say mezagli b'chamin. We're anyway we were using chamin anyway, so it must be. I'm trying to give you. You should have gotten the message. What I'm trying to tell you is either chamin or tzayin. If I want you to continue just chamin, I wouldn't have said anything. It's poor Talmud. He's got him coming or going. But hachanami michti b'chatas askinan. The psukim before this, as we're going to see later on, are also talking about a chatas. So what does the pasuk say? V'chochatas asher yuva midama. It should say. B'chol asher yuva midama. Why does it say michatas? V'asi chatas, the kazar achron alamali. Why did her say chatas? Elav chatas kamina el kol kachim. Lav chatas kamina. I'm not telling you about chatas. I'm telling you to tell you all kachim that you bring inside, it's going to pass. Okay. Maskal lahuna breder Yeshua michti. It's Rabu Kol Kachim Legam Mizbeach in Yamariko Ushtifa. We were marba all the kachim that if you bring a what do you call it? If you cook your kachim, your basar kachim in a pot, you're mechuyev to clean out the pot because we don't want to have nicer, so you have to clean it out. You gotta do a galila or whatever the process is for getting out whatever's inside, any time inside of the pot. Chatas the cause of Rahman Alamli. That was the previous psukim that were before this. It says the din of Mariko Shtifa. So why do you have to say chatas? Shramina chatas in midiachin aloi. From the fact, he says, the fact that it says chatas afterwards is coming to tell you only chatas, but nothing else. And but what about the mashal that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel said? It's daimah to a Talmud who was providing to his Rebbe both chamin and tzayin. And then he says, I only want chamin. So therefore, what he means to say is only chamin. He disagrees with the mashal. The mashal is, if the Torah says chatas, it's coming to tell you specifically chatas. Right? Because the halacha before this was not talking about chatas, but Dafka was saying for all kachim. We already said that includes everything else. So once you say on this next one, it wouldn't be just chatas. For the fact that it said specifically chatas, adarab, it's coming to limit it to just chatas. So again, what is the tam of Rabbi Akiva? The time of Rabbi Akiva, mechatas v'chol chatas. The Torah doesn't just say chatas asher yuva midam. It says v'chol chatas. So that's an extra riboy. That's to tell you not just chatas, but everything else as well. The Tanya, chatas, only chatas, kache minayin. From chatas, I would only know chatas. How do we know kache kachim, karbanis that are other kache kachim, are also going to have this din that the dam goes inside, it's going to be possible. Talmud lama kol chatas. Kachim kal minayin, Talmud lama v'chol chatas. The vav comes to tell you kachim kalam as well. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. So we have, this is Rabbi Akiva, it's not coming from the word chatas itself. He's saying that all the vav and the chol is coming to tell you all other kachim. Rabbi Yosef Glili disagrees. He says, even you can make all the ribuyim in chatas and koil and vichol, I'm not interested. Al chatas ain't al chatas yachid. Chatas siba minayim. I wouldn't have learned anything besides chatas from the pasuk, because I would have said, what is the chatas? It's talking about a chatas yachid. How do you know a chatas siba? Tamalei makol. Kol chatas. Ve'en liyel chatas zachar chatas nekeva minayim. And then I would go weiter. I would say maybe only chatas zachar. How do I know chatas nekeva? Talmud loyma v'chol. That's what v'chol is to tell you also a chatas nekeva. Frek the Gemara. This last thing that you just said is a little backwards. Klapi laya. Doesn't make any sense. The standard chatas of a yachid is a nekeva. So why would I say I assume it would be only chatas zachar? If anything, I should assume it's a chatas nekeva, which is the standard chatas. You have to switch it around. Talmud loyma v'chol chatas. Zok the Gemara, is this really what Rabbi Yosef Glili holds? And that's what the pasuk is telling you about. Tanya basically, Aimer, Kol, Ha'inyan Kula in Medaber El Bapar Manisrafim Musirim Hanisrafim Lisrev Psuleim Abeis Habira. What it's coming to tell you, this pasuk of Kol Chatas, Asher Yuva Midama, is not talking about if you bring the dam of a Chitzaina Bifnim. It's talking about a chatas pnimi. And it's coming to tell you that if you have a chatas pnimi that became possible, that you don't take, even though normally a chatas pnimi, you bring out the entire behemoth to be burnt bachutz. It's coming to tell you if it becomes possible, then you don't burn it bachutz in the place, a normal place for a chatas pnimi, for a paraman esrafim, but rather you do it in the Beis Hamikdash. It's a special place to burn it in the Beis Hamikdash. And in addition, and also to tell you that is a loisa say if you eat one of the chatois hapnimis, whether it's pasul or kosher, you're not allowed to eat the chatois hapnimis. They have to be thoroughly burnt. So that's what this pasuk is telling you. It's nothing to do with the dam of a chitzoyna that was brought b'fnim. It's talking about a chatois hapnimi only. Amruloi. So Amalei Chatash Shenichnas Dam Lefnai V'Lim Minayin. Amalehen Hein Lehuva Hein Lehuva. He learns it out from a different pasuk. He learns it out from Hein Lehuva is Dam El HaKodesh Pnimia Achel Toichel Oisei BaKodesh Kasha Tzivesi. Whole different pasuk that says you can't bring the dam in. So why did we say we've just brought this brisa that
This thing of Lefnai Lefnim is a new concept, is a new
not
thing.
Lefnai Lefnim. I didn't mean to say Lefnai Lefnim. I meant Lefnim. It's that Hein Lehuva is Kodesh Al Kodesh Pnima. We'll see. Lefnai Lefnim is later. That's the next Gemara. The next.
So, but that's not what Chatash Nichas Dam Lefnai Lefnim does not mean Lefnai Lefnim.
No. It doesn't mean. It just means Lefnim. Let's see the Rashi. Let's see the Rashi. Shenichas Dam Lefnim. If you look at the Rashi, you look at the Divrei HaMaskal of the Rashi, he takes out the words Lefnai v'Lefnim.
Oh, interesting.
Just says Lefnim. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's I just saw the Rashi took it out, and it doesn't make any sense. What are we talking about? Lefnai v'Lefnim.
Right, that's what I was like wondering, like what's going on. It seems like a new
But in any case, what happened? The Rabbi Yisrael just before said that you use this pasuk to tell you different chatoyis, not like Rabbi Kiva that says all karbanos. It's saying different chatoyis, chatas tzibur and the chatas of that's a zachar. So the Gemara l'dvar the Rabbi Kiva kamer ein chanami. In the brisa, he was just saying even according to you, it shouldn't be able to tell you other karbanos should all be applied to the chatas. But ein chanami has a separate pasuk to tell you the din that a carbon. That a carbon that whose dam was brought inside is going to be possible. Zok the Gemara. Okay. Zok the mission. Chata shekibel dama b'shnei kaises. Right now we're talking about a specific case. We're talking about a chatas. So we learned this din, right? That a carbon, a chatas, that was its dam was brought inside, the carbon is going to be possible. What happened if a chatas shekibel dam b'shnei kaises? Yatsa echad mehem lechutz, and one was brought, and one of the two kaises was taken out of the Beis Hamikdash, which is you're not allowed to take the dam of a carbon out of the Beis Hamikdash. Hapnimi kosher, you still have the other kais. You can go ahead with the other kais. Doesn't passel the whole carbon. Nichlas echad mehem lefnim. What happens if it went the other direction? You took one of the kaises you stayed in the Azara. We're talking about chatas chitzayna. And then you took one of them lifnim. Everyone says a chatas, the dam gets passel when it goes inside. So we say if you bring one of them lifnim, it's a machlek. So Yisagli says, okay, the kais that went inside is passel, but the one that's left in the azar is kasha. Chum and paislam. Chum say it's passel. They say that if any part of the dam went inside, it passels all the dam, it passels the whole carbon. You're not going to be able to do this zrika. Amr B'Yisrael, Ma'im b'makam shemachshava poiseles b'chutz. Rabbi Yisrael made a kal v'chaymer. Madach, if a place that, meaning the first din of this mission that we said, if you take it lachutz, if you take the dam b'chutz, it doesn't pass all the carbon, right? The first din, if you took one of the kaisis b'chutz, the carbon, everyone agreed that it's going to be kosher, and having a machshava that you're going to be zayrik the dam b'chutz is a machshavas chutz l'm kaimai, and there's no it doesn't passel if you took one of the cups out there. It doesn't passel the other cup. If you brought the dam lifnim, there's no din of machshavas chutz l'm kaimai. If you have a machshava of bringing inside, if you remember back, we said the Torah says shlishi. It has to have the three factors. It has to be that the dam, that you zerek the dam there, and you eat the basa there, and you can be mak there, the carbon there. So b'chutz, all these things are found by a bama, but b'fnim in the heichel, you never find that there's no such thing as eating basa in the heichel, and there's no such thing as burning basa in the heichel, or burning a murim, or burning part of the carbon in the heichel. That's only in the mizbeach hachitzon. So a machshava of chutz l'm kaimai which is an unfortunate lashon because we're trying to say it could be also lefnim, but a machshava in the wrong place does not apply to having machshava to do with bifnim. So you see a kula of bifnim over bachutz, that you could have a machshavas chutz and koim bachutz and not bifnim. So if we said that a machshavas chutz, I'm sorry, that bringing the kais chutz is not going to pass the carbon, ain't a din shalei nasas hamashiyah kenichnes. Certainly, when you bring one of the kaises inside, it shouldn't pass all the whole carbon. So that was Rabbi Yosef Gli's taina on Rabbi Akiva. Zok the Gemara, nichnis l'chaper. Zok the Mishnah, I'm sorry. Nichnis l'chaper. If he brought in with this dam, he didn't bring it over stam. He had in mind he's bringing it in because he wants to be zayrik it on the mizbech mistakenly. He wanted to bring it. This chatas titzain is bringing the dam to be zayrik on the mizbech of the afa pishalei keeper. Puzzle. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says, even though once he brought it in, he had in mind to milchaper, it doesn't make a difference. Once he brought it in, it's going to pass. Rabbi Shimon Aimer, achi yechaper. Rabbi Shimon says, no, if you have a machshava that you bring it in to be mechaper, then it's only going to pass. It's not enough just to bring it inside. It has to also be mechaper, and then it could pass. They're both arguing in Chachamim that say if you bring it inside, it's going to pass the other cup. So we'll say, or I guess this would be even if it's mixed together. But I think it means this din that we just talked about.
Just arguing that the Chachamim said just bringing it in makes it possible. But so according to this machlokes, right?
What do you mean? The Chachamim say, we're saying more details of what it means to bring it in.
What?
We're saying more details about what it means to bring it in. That means we just said before, the Chachamim say if you bring it in, it's possible. We didn't say exactly what kind of bringing it in. The Chachamim could be talking about just if he didn't have anything in mind when he brought it in. He wasn't bringing it to be mechaper.
That's what I'm saying. So they're adding on to that.
Yeah, they're adding on top of that if you have in mind to be mechaper, it's a machlokes about whether it's going to be mechaper.
But what if, according to this, if you didn't have any mind at all, right? And if you just brought it in without having in mind to do kapara, it wouldn't be possible.
No, it would be possible. It's worse because if you have in mind to be mechaper and then you're not mechaper, you don't throw it. If your intention was to throw it on the mizbeach, then that's gonna. We'll see in the Gemara the reasons where it comes from, but it's because if you have in mind to be mechaper, then it's going to be possible. If you're mechaper, but if you don't, then it's not as bad. I don't know. Let's see. I'm not sure about what would be. I think. It could be you're right. It could be that when we say the Chacham say you bring it in, since the lashon of the pasuk is lechaper, you have to do it to be mechaper. Let's see the Gemara.
I thought it was like a three-way machlokes here. Like it's keeps on going up in levels.
No, it's not a three-way machlokes. It's a machlokes in the Chachamim. How is it going to be tamei? But now we do have a three-way machlokes. Yehuda Aimer im hechnish shoygig kosher. Yehuda says if you brought it in b'shoygig, then it's kosher. It's not clear whether he agrees with Rabbi Elazar or Shimon. If he brings it out, do you need lechaper? The Gemara will address that. This is a strange Gemara, and the Mishnah says this. I don't know why we would think that. It says the tzitz is meratza. If someone brings dam tamei on the mizbeach, the tzitz is meratza, and it doesn't pass all the carbon. Tzitz meratza ala tamei. Ve'ein meratza. The tzitz is not going to help for the discussion that we're having now about yaitza. It only applies to tamei. I don't know who thought otherwise, and the Gemara doesn't discuss it at all. So the Gemara. Tanya, kal v'chaymer. And this is really this is the kal v'chaymer that the Mishnah had said, and then we use it as a jumping off point for a bunch of other kal v'chaymers. Kal v'chaymer. Ma b'makar shemachshava pe'selis b'chutz. Like pasol dam. Shebechutz as shebefnim. This is what the Mishnah had said. If the machshava to bring down bechutz is not going to passel, is going to passel, but bringing the dam bechutz is not going to passel. Malgum she'ein machshava peles befnim. Any din shel yifsel dam shebefnim as shebechutz. L'chayra, certainly it shouldn't be passel if you bring the dam befnim. Amalei aroi masha yuva midama. afilu mixes dama. The Torah says if you bring from the dam tells you afilu mixes dama. It tells you that bringing dam inside is going to passel. It's not just that the dam itself is going to be passel, but that midama, some of the dam is going to passel the rest of it. Amalahem, he said to them, Kavachaymer liyaitze me'ata. So then I'll tell you a Kavachaymer for someone who goes out. So now if you have a pasuk that tells you that it's going to passel the dam if part of it goes inside, so I'll tell you the other way around. Paisel dam shebefnim es shebechutz. Makom shebechutz paisel bechutz, and it didn't sheyifsel dam bechutz es shebefnim. Means our Mishnah had asserted the first din was that if you take dam bechutz, it's not going to passel. We didn't say where that comes from. So he's saying, so why is that taka the din? Let's say that when you bring the dam outside, it's also going to passel what's inside. Since bechutz is more chomer than fnim in legabe machshava. The pasuk that says the isser of the psul of bringing the dam in, it just says asher yuva, that you bring in and not what you bring out. So I'll tell you another kavachaymer. V'tehei machshava b'fnim paiseles mikavachaymer. Let's say why taka is it that a machshava to be yaitza chutzlim kaimei only is referring to a machshava to bring out? Why can't it be also a machshava to bring in? I already told you the answer when we were learning the Mishnah, but the Gemara is going to say. Umav makshali pasol dam shebechutz shebefnim machshava paiseles bechutz makom shepasol dam befnim es adam shebechutz and it didn't shetehei machshava paiseles befnim. Why isn't the machshava paisel befnim? Harei yuayme bayayim ashlishi. So the answer is because the Torah says that a machshavas chutz is the only one that passes, not a machshavas fnim, because this is b'yam shlishi. Makom sheyehim sholish bedam bebasa beimemur. Like we said before, it has to be a machshava of a place that is capable of having all three things. That you sometimes will bring be zayrik dam in a place that you'll eat basa, in a place that you'll bring a murim. So chutz the azara, you'll sometimes have a bama that you could do all these three things. But eating basa b'chlal you could do outside of the azara by kachim kalim, and but even outside of Yishalayim and the karbanos you bring on a bama. But in bifnim, none of these things are ever found. You never eat basar, and you never amak der emur. Now the Gemara says, let's say, which is a very strange question, right? Because we've been learning Zevachim already for a few months. Let's say a machshavas chutzlam kaime will not passel if you have machshava to bring it outside. Then what's left? We know there's such a thing as chutzlam kaime, and that's what the Gemara is going to say. We have a pasuk that says there's a din of chutzlam kaimei. We already eliminated that having machshavas chutz lefnim is not going to, that you're having a machshavas that you're going to bring it lefnim is not going to passel. And the Torah says chutzlam kaimei passel, so it's got to be something, so it's got to be bechutz. So Gemara, basar hayoytz. Now we're moving over. We're talking about dam. Now the Gemara is going to talk for a little bit about basar. Basar hayoytz lechutz pasel. Basar that went outside is pasel, hanechnes lefnim kosher. If you take basar out, it's pasel, but if you bring it into the heichal, it's kosher. Sheyehei bedin shepasel, because it's a kavachayim. Umaba makushal pasel dam shebechutz eshe befnim madach. If a place that if you have part of the dam, if you take basar out, that it doesn't. If you take the dam outside, it's not going to passel the other kais that's inside. Basar hayetzel lechutz passel. But if you take basar outside of the place where it's allowed, outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it's going to be passel. Makom shepasel dam shebechutz basar lefnim and din sheyifsel. So I should say that basar should also passel if it goes inside, because legabe our din of our Mishnah of two kaises, we say that the dam passel out in bifnim passels the dam bechutz.
Are we talking about kachim kalim or kachim?
We're talking about now either basar is not supposed to go b'fnim. It doesn't make a difference. Kachim kalim and kachim are both not supposed to be brought into the heichel to eat. You're supposed to eat it in the azara. Neither of them belong going into the heichel. They're never eaten in the heichel. They're eaten in the azara. Kachim kalim could be eaten in Yerushalayim, outside of the heichel. Kachim are only eaten by the kehanim in the azara. I'm sorry, not the heichel. I should say the azara. I'm sorry. So again, basar is never eaten in the heichel. Kachim kalim are eaten in the azara and in Yerushalayim. Kachim are only eaten by kehanim in the Beis Hamikdash. So we're asking, what happens if you bring basar into the heichel? So we're saying a kal v'chomer. If we say you bring dam into the heichel, it's going to passel the dam that's outside. So the basar, if you take it outside where it doesn't passel the dam, it becomes passel. Certainly, if you take it into the heichel where it does passel the dam, that means kachim. If you take it outside of the heichel, or even kalim, if you take it outside of Yerushalayim,
Outside of Azora, you mean?
What?
Outside the Azora.
No, kalim, if you take it outside of Yerushalayim. Kalim could be eaten by a zar anywhere in Yerushalayim. So certainly, if you take basar lifnim, it should passel. Harei says, dama v'loy basar. We say we have a pasuk that tells you that this isser of bringing lifnim is only dam and not basar. But Madach, if you bring dam b'fnim, it passes the dam chutz. Basar lifnim kosher, the basar that is brought in there is kosher. Malkim shaloi pasal dam shebechutz es shebefnim. Basar yotzel chutz edin she kosher. Why isn't it that basar that you took outside of the place where it's allowed to be, it should also be kosher? It's telling you that not just you're not allowed to eat it, but the Torah tells you that it becomes also if you take it outside of the place where you're allowed to eat it. Yeah, this is a lot of kal v'chomers. It sounds confusing, but really, all these kal v'chomers are just telling us, they're just saying, I would think otherwise, and this is the din that we know anyway. We know that basar hayotze is possible. We know that machshava chutzim kaimei, if you have machshava to do it outside, it's all things that we didn't, these are not conclusions that are different than what we had from before. Zaktamar, Tan Rabban, Pnima, Eliam Pnima. The Torah says Pnima. Pnima is the kachei kachim. Now we're finally getting to the real kachei kachim, where the Aron Kodesh is. Maybe only when you bring the dam into the Aron Kodesh, by the kachei kachim. Heichel minayim. How do you know just by the kodesh, by the heichel is also going to pass? Tamilay me'ala kodesh pnima. Kodesh is a reference to the heichel, and pnima is a reference to the kachei kachim. In fact, the Gemara v'yomer kodesh v'al yomer pnima. If that's the case, let's just say kodesh. Just say the heichel will passel, and I'll certainly know that the kachei kachim, if you bring it into the kachei kachim, is going to passel. Amarava bazeh v'limid al zeh. Gemara says, so the Gemara says you have to say both of them, as we often have in the Gemara, and this is the source for it, that if you'd only have one pasuk, we'd say that for pasuk only passes if you bring into the kachei kachim, which is the more chamadika one, obviously. If you bring in the kachei kachim, it's more reason to passel. So if we'd only have one pasuk, we'd apply it not to the heichel, but to the kachei kachim passes, and I wouldn't know that the heichel also passes. And where do we have such a similar concept? Mideh hava toisha v'sacher. Toisha v'sacher is a reference to, this is talking about eating a person who has a Eved Ivri, he's not allowed to, a kohen who has an Eved Ivri, the Eved Ivri is not allowed to eat his truma. The Tanya. Toisha is that kinyan yoyla. A Toisha is talking about someone, an Eved Ivri that already had was nirtza on his ear, and he became a permanent slave. So the Torah says Toisha, that would only tell me he can't eat the truma. Sacher is that kani kinyan shanim. And the Sacher is telling you someone who's only a 6-year term of service. Why do you have to tell me both? If you say that the permanent slave can't eat the truma while he's by a kohen, certainly the temporary slave can't. I would learn after kal v'chomer. It's like the Mark. The first pasuk would be coming to tell us the lesser chiddush. Only after we have two psukim we apply it to the more to the. So you have to say both in order to know that both are included. Abaye says it's not a good sushta. Over there, the pasuk is telling you, he's saying I have to tell you both things, because otherwise, if it would only say one, I would say it's talking about a kani kini kinyan shanim can't eat. But how do I know a kani kini olam? So we'll say, let the pasuk just say it directly. Say someone who is temporarily eved, he can't. I'm sorry, someone who's permanently an eved, who was nirtza, he can't eat the truma, and then I would be able to say the kal v'chaimer. We could avoid this mistake. Why do you have to say double? Just say one and say what you're talking about. And even though I would say a kal v'chaimer to tell you the temporary slave, nevertheless, the Torah, when it's two separate things, the Torah will tell you both of them. We will say double rather than saying it b'kal v'chaimer, because you'd rather say explicitly both of them. But over here, that doesn't make any sense. Kim de ifsel b'heichel. I don't know what the words are. My boy. What do you have if you're saying that if the Torah would say that if it goes into the heichel, it's going to be possible? What do you have to tell me that it goes l'fnai v'l'fnim? It's possible. Every time it goes l'fnai v'l'fnim, you have to go through the heichel. So you're always going to be. It's not a kal v'chaimer. It's included. If you say that the heichel is possible, the l'fnai v'l'fnim is also possible. It's not a davar lam kal v'chaimer. It's always going to be possible in any case. So Abaye says the reason why you have to say both of them is because it's possible to go l'fnai v'l'fnim without going into the heichel. You can go. They had whatever alleyways or tunnels that you could get into the kachei kachim without going through the heichel. Amli Rava ba'avoksiv bei. How could you say it's talking about going? The reason why it has to be is because you could come in through the back entrance and avoid the heichel. The Torah says avo, which means to come in directly. When the Torah says the anything that the kohen wants to bring into the kachei kachim, it's not going to become possible from the heichel. So it's not included. It's not that if the Torah would have said that you bring it into the heichel, it's going to possible, and therefore if you bring it into the kachei kachim, it's going to already have been possible. Because if your intention was to bring it into the kachei kachim, then the heichel doesn't possible. It's only if you intended to bring it into the heichel. Boy Rav. So Rava asks a different question. We're talking about a different topic. These are two of the Param Hanisrafim, Asirim Hanisrafim. These are the karbanos that are brought l'fnai v'l'fnim and they get burnt outside. Shehechnis damam l'fnai v'l'fnim. That they were supposed to go to the heichel. So there's obviously no problem with bringing the dam into the heichel. It's supposed to be zayrik the dam in the heichel. But he brought it not just into the heichel, he brought it into the kachei kachim. Mal. L'kodesh pnima. Maybe the Torah associated when it said it's an isser to bring it lifnim, it also means a psul. That's where you have a psul to bring it lifnai v'lifnim. But we're meaning only by kachei chutz, a carbon that's supposed to be brought by chutz. But a carbon that's anyway supposed to be in the heichel, this pasuk is not referring to it because it also includes the isser to bring in the heichel. Or maybe you say no. What the pasuk is telling you, anything that's not in its proper place is going to pass. If you'll say bring the lefnai v'lefnim is going to pass. He's a midam al habadim. He was maza the dam. Those are supposed to go lefnai v'lefnim, and he was maza them. He did the hazos dam on the Aron Kodesh, toward the Aron Kodesh. He brought out to the heichel. At that point, he's not supposed to bring the dam anymore. His avodah in the lefnai v'lefnim is over, and he nevertheless went and took that dam lefnai v'lefnim in the kodesh kadoshim. Ma mi aminu makoymim hu. Do you say it was its makom? It was supposed to be there earlier, so now it's also, if he brings it there, there's no isser of bringing it bifnim. Or once he went out, now there's no longer any heter to bring it in, and it's going to have the whole psul. It's going to pass all the cup. If you say in that case, it's going to be pasul. He's a midaman ala paroiches. If he was maza from the dam on the paroiches, meaning he already did the hazah in the heichel with this dam toward the paroiches, and then he took it out past the mizbech, because there's two places he's supposed to do the zrika on the paroiches, from near between the mizbech hazav and the paroiches, and the next hazah is done between the entrance to the heichel and the mizbech. So he left the area that he was supposed to be in for the first zrika vechnisa, and then he came back with the dam, even though it wasn't necessary at that point anymore. Mal. Who do you say it's all the heichel? It doesn't make a difference. Since he went out of the area that he was supposed to be for the first rika, bringing it back is considered to be a hachnasa. It's going to passel teku. The Gemara says that remains a teku. Okay. If it was the Mishnah had said, and a second machlokes, we brought it in to be mechaper. We had a machlokes about whether, according to Rebbe Eliezer, if he brings it in that he's going to be Zarek the Dam, even if he wasn't Zarek the Dam, it's still going to be this Dam that wasn't supposed to be Bifnim. It's still going to passel. And Rav Shimon says, unless he goes ahead and he's Zarek the Dam, if he has a Achshava to be Mechaper, it's not going to pass. Zok Gemara, Tanya, Rebbe Eliezer, Nema kan lechaper b'kodesh, Nema alam v'chol adam l'yiyah b'oil moed, b'voyel lechaper b'kodesh. The Torah also says, Legabi, the Kohen Gadol, while he's doing the avodah on the Beis in the Kachei Kachim, that no one else is allowed to be in the Heichel during the time that the Kohen Gadol is doing his avodah in the Kachei Kachim. Mal alom b'shaloi chiper, just like over there by the Kachei Kachim, it's talking about until the Kohen Gadol is mechaper, no one's allowed to go into the oil mayid. Avkam b'shaloi kiper. So too over here, Rebbe Eliezer says, it's talking about where he wasn't mechaper, it's still going to be an isser. So that's where he learns that it doesn't, if he has a machshava to be mechaper, it still could be pasal adam. That pasuk is talking about this is talking about the chatoyis hapnimis, the karbonis that are nesrafim, that this is saying that you're not allowed, that these karbonis, I think it means that you're not allowed to eat them. What is the din? What is that din saying? Yeah, the din of burning them, that you bring them out to be nisrafim, is only after they already have a kapara. So we said parachata, so we're going to make a lechaper. So it says, the pasuk says lechaper, so we make the gzeira shava to this lechaper. Just like over there, it's only after there's a kapara that you could burn them. Avkam b'shekiper. So too over here, when it says lechaper, it means that the isser that it's going to become, you're going to passel the dam if you brought a lefnim is only after it's mechaper, that he tries to be mechaper because he's really bringing the wrong place. What is the base of the machlokes? One says you learn it out from these chatoyis hapnimis that they're supposed to be brought outside. So we down from that because that's more similar to these chatoyis chutz that you're bringing inside. I'm sorry. He says, the other way around. He says the first one is dan chutz michutz and dan chutz bifnim, meaning the Kohen Gadol, he's going bifnim of where when he's bifnim, the people who are b'chutz are going to be pasul. The same thing over here. We're saying that when you bring the dam bifnim, it's going to pasul the dam b'chutz. So therefore, that's the appropriate zushtel. And the other mandama says, he says, you can't, I got it backwards. No. He's right. Yeah, no, I got it right. Right. So he said that the first mandama says you learn it from the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur that you're not allowed to go into the Heichel. The other mandama says I'm not going to learn from the fact that we say that a behem, that an adam can't go into the Heichel while the Kohen Gadol is doing avodah. I'd rather learn from the din that Asa passes the behema, that you can't burn the behema bachutz. From that's more similar to what we're talking about of passing the dam. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Then we said Rabbi Yehuda said at the end that if he brings it in b'shaygig, it's not going to pass. Zaktamar hamezid pasul. It's mashma if he does a mezid pasul. B'shakipa b'shalai keeper. Is he agreeing with Rabbi Lazar of Shimon in the previous machlokes? Amr Rabbi Yirmiyah mimash shenema v'spar chatas ve'sorah chatas sherhuva es damam l'chab b'kodesh matab and leimer. What do we learn from that pasuk? And if you remember, that was the pasuk that we just used before. What does the Torah say? Affecting Gemara, what does it say? V'asayif means the pasuk is saying v'asayif that if someone burns the, if he burns it, he has to be toivel. He becomes tummy, and he has to be toivel his begadim. But matam v'asayif legufei etzrich. It's coming to tell you it's tummy. El matam alem chatas. Chatas. What does it say? As par chatas shesoir chatas. Let us just say as par asoir. We already said we know we're talking about a chatas. What do you have to say chatas again? L'fishal Emmanuel lepar v'soir shel yom kippurim shenisrofen abezadesh metam begodim shar nisrofen minayin. I would only know these particular chatoyis pnimius par v'soir of Yom Kippur that they get burnt abezadesh and they're metam begodim. How do I know the other paras? Like the par hamdav shel tzibur, or the par of Kohen Gadol, how do we know that they also are metam begodim? Tamalei mechatas chatas. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Remei I mean it's sarach. He says no, I don't need the pasuk for that. Hare yuaymer bes par chatas bes sarach chatas. Shein tamalei melechaper. Matam malei melechaper. It already said what I have to say lechaper. Limit al kol skarim she hasafim metam begodim. Since it says this lashon of lechaper, that's coming to tell you that kol and hamiskapim. They all have the din that the matam begotten. Rabbi Yehuda l'chaper le'mashmalei. Yehuda doesn't learn l'chaper, but my time alamishum ne'boyle l'gzeir shava. Must be that Rabbi Yehuda did not use the l'chaper over here because he had to use it like Rabbi Eliezer had used it before to tell you the din of that it has to be ba l'chaper if it's mechaper, but if he's not actually mechaper, it's not going to be ruin the other dam. Okay, we'll stop over here. Hadron Allah, Kol Zevachim, Hadron Chalon.